Thank you to everyone who's joined us today for our Lunch and Learn. Today, we have Rebecca Hunter, and she's going to share with us Quotient. Quotient is a super intuitive online quoting and proposal software that lets you create, send, and manage your quotes. And I'm pretty sure Quotient's been around for an awfully long time as well, hasn't it?
It has. I think, quoting me on this, I'm not sure, but I think it was 2011.
Yeah.
We went live. So yeah, we're not as new as we may look.
Very good, very good. Well, I'll hand over to you, Rebecca, if you'd like to share with us everything about Quotient.
Yeah, so as Heather mentioned, I'm Rebecca Hunter. I'm one of the customer champions at Quotient. And just as a little icebreaker, as I mentioned before, I love anything music related. I also love interior design and my cat Molly, who can be seen in the slide here. So Molly's down there. She looks terrified, but I assure you she's very, very loved.
Very good, very good. Awesome.
All right. So Quotient, we're an online quoting and proposal software that lets you create, send and manage your quotes. And Quotient can be integrated with both XERO and QuickBooks Online, which a lot of you will be familiar with. And this allows you to send your accepted quotes automatically over to your accounting program as invoices. You can also enable lookups for your XERO and QuickBooks Online customers and products or services so that these can be added to new quotes from inside Quotient. You don't have to flip between the two programs. Quotient also really focuses on keeping as much of the conversation between you and your customers in one place. So we also have a comments and questions feature, which allows your customers to post to the quote itself, as well as a private notes feature. So you can jot down relevant information or attach documents pertaining to the quote privately, and that can be shared amongst you and your team members or your salespeople on the floor and stuff like that. So yeah, with regards to problems that are often encountered with the quoting process or the sales process, quoting is often a time-consuming, clunky or manual process, and it tends to have way too much double handling of data. So you're writing things down there and then emailing someone and calling someone, and it's really hard to keep track of things. There tends to be information scattered across a number of disconnected programs, and there's a wide margin for human error in that way. And so with regards to how to solve these problems, we try to attack them from a number of ways. For instance, Quotient is available on any device, meaning you can quote on the go, and you don't have to scribble down notes and then transcribe into quote form once you're back in the office.
So you could quote on a mobile device?
100%.
Okay.
So, sorry.
And the mobile device will pull up the items, as you mentioned before.
Yes, that's right. So you're not, again, having to sort of like switch between different apps on your phone or pull out your laptop, or it's just whatever device works best for you. As long as you've got an internet connection, you're good to go with Quotient. And so yeah, when integrated with XERO or QuickBooks, you also have the option to look up existing customers and products and add them to your quotes right away. And your customers then have the option to accept their quote online, or if you're given the verbal go-ahead by your customer, you can accept on their behalf. And then we also have our templates feature, which allows you to create collections of items that are laid out as you would ideally want them on your quotes. And you can create as many of these templates as you want. So you could have specific templates for certain customers or products or locations or salespeople, just anything you're really wanting to standardize. And this again minimizes manual entry of your quote data and also keeps the quotes your business sends out really consistent and uniform. Better still, the items used on your templates are what we call dynamically linked, which means that if you make changes to an item on one template that also features on other templates, these changes will flow through to all instances where that item has been used. And this means that if you need to update, say, your payment terms or conditions, for instance, you only need to make these updates to the one item and you're done. There won't be any outdated info on other instances of that item. And templates can be created from scratch by adding individual items or by copying an existing quote to a new template. So if you've just sent out like your dream quote to a customer, it's really well received and you think, I'd really love to use that going forward and save myself some time. You can just copy that template, copy that quote to a template, and any items that are used on a template will be saved to your account for future use, which means that you don't have to type out or copy and paste the same item information every time you make a quote. So then looking back at the quoting side of things, if your quote is accepted by your customer, this is then also backed up by our digital fingerprint feature, which captures your customer's details at the time of the quote acceptance and makes acceptance legally binding in the same way that a written signature is. So that's like a hugely beneficial point for our software because, you know, we're all on the go. You don't have to worry about getting written signatures from your customers necessarily. And once your quote is accepted, it can be sent through to your accounting program as an invoice, which I mentioned earlier. And this whole workflow cuts out manual data entry when creating quotes and eliminates double handling of your data between quote and invoice, all the while reducing the total time involved in this process. So speeding the quoting process up, as well as ensuring your quotes contain current and correct information, means that typically if there are competitors that you're submitting your quotes alongside, your quotes often reach your customers long before whoever you're competing against. And then just looking at what's possible as a whole in Quotient. So you can use our leads feature to gather your customers' information. And this can be done either by embedding your lead form, which is generated in Quotient, on your website, or distributing your lead form via email, text, social media, or even having your salespeople collect lead data right on the shop floor with customers. And then these leads can then be converted into a quote at the click of a button. All of your lead details are listed on the quote and a contact is created or matched to if there's one already in Quotient. And your quote is then sent off to your customer, who naturally is delighted by the slick look and feel of your quote and its contents, then accepts it. And then this accepted quote is then sent to your accounting program as an invoice ready to send off to your customer. Then after work is completed, you can automatically request a review or feedback from your customers, which can then be featured on future quotes. So that's built into the quote page. And as this illustrates, we've tried to make a really organic life cycle in Quotient that takes you end to end from lead generation to gathering great reviews really smoothly. In terms of what Quotient works well for, it's an obvious fit for anyone that currently quotes for their work and wants to improve that experience, or people that want to firm up their sales processes by implementing quoting. It might be new to them. As mentioned up top, Quotient is a really valuable tool for keeping everything related to a quote in one place. And that's whether you're answering questions that your customers have asked on their quote or adding comments to a quote that include additional documents or images. Your customer is notified of these things via email and encouraged to respond on the quote itself. And additionally, because our quotes are online first, they're also able to be really dynamic and include variables like multiple choice, optional or editable quantity items, which allow your customers to select from options that you present to them and have the price update based on their choices rather than going back and forth ad infinitum with requests for minor revisions and stuff. These types of items also allow you to basically upsell other products or services to your customers based on what you're originally quoting them for. So a little bit of a story to present an example. Imagine you're a landscaper and you're quoting for a completely new residential garden. Your customer has hired you because they can't create the garden landscape they want themselves. So would it be possible that they'd also need help with ongoing upkeep and maintenance? We think absolutely. So why not use our subscriptions feature to include a few flexible optional extras like seasonal fertilizing or weed killing? And the benefit here is twofold, as your offerings are thoughtful rather than pushy. And if they go for it, you've then turned a one-off job into ongoing work with repeating costs. And turning a fixed price item into a subscription price item is really easy too. So if you see a fixed price item that would be, better suited to being a subscription, you can just hit the cog icon on the item and select subscription, choose the frequency, and if you'd like the duration of the subscription, and you're good to go. Your total quote area will then update to display one total for your fixed price items and then another total for subscription items of the same type. So it's clear what costs are ongoing. So got to answer the hard questions, what it's not ideal for. I'm slightly biased, but I can't see how most businesses wouldn't benefit from quoting or from fine-tuning their quoting process. That said, Quotient isn't ideal for those who require highly complex quotes with hundreds or thousands of price items that are required to calculate the total price, such as a quote to build a house with a fully itemized breakdown of all components. In terms of who we integrate with a range of popular apps, including XERO and QuickBooks Online for invoicing and accounting, as mentioned. We integrate with MailChimp for email marketing, Capsule and Insightly for your CRM needs. We have Quotient webhooks, which also allow you to send your Quotient data to other custom-made systems if that's something that you'd like to set up. And we also integrate with Zapier, which facilitates a connection to literally thousands of other apps. So there's a lot of flexibility there. In terms of what a typical app stack is with Quotient, our customers' typical app stack really does vary from business to business, as Quotient is super flexible and can be slotted into a wide range of workflows. But as outlined above, integrating Quotient with XERO or QuickBooks Online is a really popular setup that takes users from lead generation to quoting to invoicing all in one smooth flow. And the details that are pushed into XERO and QuickBooks Online, when a quote is accepted, we create a draft invoice, which includes all accepted price items, and these are matched to their appropriate sales accounts and tax rates, which I think is a really big point of interest for accountants and bookkeepers alike. Your draft invoice also includes the quote title, the customer order or reference number, as well as a permanent link back to the quote for easy future reference. So you've always got that tie back. The quote contact is then matched to an existing contact or creates a new one in XERO or QuickBooks Online. And in terms of the setup process, setting up a new Quotient account is super easy. The system basically walks you through what you need to do, along with presenting new users with a handy checklist of to-dos on the dashboard. So it's right up front and you know exactly what needs to be done. And in short, when you sign up for a free trial, you can really just fill out your first name, last name, and your company name, and then proceed to your dashboard straight away. Or you can complete a few details such as default currencies and taxes, as well as more details about your company if you'd like, but that's it. You're ready to begin quoting as soon as you'd like. There's no lengthy, weeks lead-in time. And we also have a handy quick start guide that includes a brief intro video with all the essentials for new users. Yeah. So I thought I'd run through a quick demonstration, if that's all right, Heather.
That would be excellent. It's certainly got some really rich features in there since I last had a look at Quotient.
Yeah, we think so. We've been trying to grow it, keep it fresh,
Absolutely.
All right, so I'll jump into this demo now. So I'll resume share and play. All right, can you see that there all right?
I can see Quotient, simple, smarter quotes and proposals. Is that correct?
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Cool. All right, so as I've mentioned, Quotient allows you to create and manage quotes and proposals. And as we integrate with both XERO and QuickBooks, we've got a really complete workflow right through to invoicing. But for the purpose of this demo, I'll be referring to QuickBooks. However, our XERO integration has the same functionality essentially. So first, let's see how things work out from an end customer's point of view. Story time here. Say we have a customer, Scarlett, who is organising a convention. And as part of this, she needs some catering. She knows what she wants, she has a budget in mind, and she's reached out to a few local caterers to see what they can do. Scarlett then receives an email from the River Kitchen with a Quotient quote. And this email contains a friendly message and a link to view her quote online. Scarlett's really impressed by the professional look and recognises the familiar logo and colours of the company that's contacting her. Everything she's asked for is clearly laid out with details, quantities, and prices. And she can even see photos of what to expect from her catering. She can click the images to view them a little bit larger. Included on the quote is an optional extra on offer, which will be a real bonus for Scarlett to have taken care of. So she selects this option and can see the total update. This is a real upsell for the River Kitchen, as well as a quick win for Scarlett. Scarlett can then ask a question, and we can answer right on the quote screen. This keeps the conversation in one place and effectively forms part of the agreement. Then down the bottom, we can see some 5-star reviews. These have been gathered as part of our reviews feature, where Quotient will automatically ask customers for reviews and feedback at the end of a job. These reviews can be displayed on quotes. And at this point, Scarlett's happy and confident with the offer and can just click to accept. Scarlett will also receive an email to confirm everything is all go, which helps to reassure her. So that's the customer experience in Quotient. Now let's take a look at how a company can use Quotient to easily create a quote. So back on our dashboard, I'll select from a pre-made template, which allows us to start from a good common base. Over on the quote page, we then select who the quote is for, and focusing on QuickBooks in this instance, you can easily look up and select customers from QuickBooks here. Here we can see the items from our template, and I can add another item here. And just like with customers, you can choose a QuickBooks product or service. And all the info is pulled through. Now we can preview the quote. And we'll just give everything a once over to check that everything looks good for the customer. Then we can confirm the email message, adding any extra comments we want to include here. And then we hit send. Then if we check back in a few minutes, in this instance, we can see the quote has been opened. And after a few more moments, our quote has been magically accepted. Then this accepted quote appears over on our dashboard as well. In addition to this, there's one more magical thing that happens in the background. So let's take a look in QuickBooks Online. Here we can see an invoice has been generated with all the details from our accepted quote included. We've got customer information, selected items, quantities and prices, and this means there's no double handling, which really helps save time. And that's us in a nutshell. We believe that we're a really good choice for any small businesses that want to delight their customers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Really appreciate your demonstration then. Now, if anyone does have any questions, you're welcome to take yourself off mute and ask them, or pop them into the chat area and ask them. Well, firstly, I was in Hamilton for like 24 hours and actually ate at the River Kitchen, so that was impressive. And it was it was very lovely location, etc. So well done on that intersection. And I really like the one of the added on features was that review feature at the very end that just automates that review thing. So is that built within Quotient, or are we tabbing in Zapier into some review program or something there?
No, this is all in-house, and this is one of our more recent feature releases. And there's a couple of ways that you can approach gathering reviews in Quotient, but what we recommend is setting it to ask automatically, and you set up a little email template that then, once your quotes have been accepted and a certain amount of time has gone by, this email request is sent out to your customers, and you don't have to worry about that awkward process of being like, oh, do you want to tell the rest of the world how great you think our services are? It's just, that's done, they flow in, and then you can select which ones to feature on your quotes, and you can also embed your reviews page on your website if you'd like. You can embed your review form on your website. So these can be, they can be brought to other parts of your business as well.
That's such a good thing to have, and I wouldn't have even thought about putting it into my quoting system, but to automatically receive that, because it's something that we all probably know we should do, we just don't have the actual time to, so that if we can get the robots to do it for us, it just makes life so much better. And I know that I did look into this solution for This was some time ago, and it was for a bespoke African tour company that charged a lot of money for tours, and it was such a perfect system for them because it would mean that they could put all of those additional options on.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the people could, when we were allowed to travel, they could choose what they wanted to actually go with.
Right.
And the images, etc., can make it so much more attractive.
Yeah.
So, and I also like the digital fingerprint rather than the digital signature. That was kind of very interesting.
Yeah, it's just a really pain-free way of doing it. You know, you don't have to wait for people to send back a signature or engage with other software and stuff. It's just right there again on the quote page.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of, you said that the quote would go up there, but behind the scenes, if anything updates, I can actually update it behind the scenes, and so that quote can keep updating. Typically when someone sends out a quote, they go, this quote only valid for 30 days. Does that mean that you're seeing people go, they're not needing to put that only valid for 30 days on there?
Well, we do have an expiry date built into the quote page. So if
Okay.
that's important to you, you can have like a real ironclad expiry date there, maybe even sort of highlight this to your customers somewhere in the text of your quote or in the email that goes out with your quote, just, you know, mentioning this is only valid for X amount of days. Or you can just set a really generic expiry date if that's not of concern to you, like a year from now or a month from now or whatever suits.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's again, that means you can kind of put stuff out there into the great blue yonder, and things can come back to you. Does it, if I put it out there, does it remind them that they haven't done anything with the quote automatically?
So actually something I didn't cover was our follow-ups feature, which I think links back to what you're asking about there.
Yeah.
But basically you can set up a few criteria that you want to build your follow-ups feature around. And that could be quotes that haven't been accepted in 7 days or haven't been opened in 2 days, things like that, that just sort of alert you to this quote isn't being engaged with in the way that I expected it to. And then again, you set up these pre-made email templates, which can all be customized, like if you'd rather do that. And then you're alerted to the quotes that need to be followed up based on your criteria on the dashboard. You just click into the little follow-ups notification, and then you're presented with the email that you've already set up, and you can just fire that off, and it's super easy.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. And when you talked about, I can send out a quote, and it can be for landscaping, but I also might want to get some general work done on a regular basis. So thus I'm turning part of that into a subscription. Where is the information for the subscription being held? Like, is that being held in Quotient and just automatically happening there? Or is that now populating QuickBooks and XERO and then just setting itself up as a reoccurring template and then going out there?
So the subscription side of things is really handled on the Quotient end of the workflow.
Yeah.
And this is just something that you're agreeing to with your customer. It's not so much a reoccurring thing that keeps popping up, but this is what you're engaging your customer for, is I'd like to have these services happen monthly or what have you. And then you've got the option to then duplicate those invoices or set them to recurring in QuickBooks or XERO.
Okay, so the reoccurring element of it has to happen in the accounting solution, which is fine. I'm just trying to understand that, whether you were also had this sort of hidden feature as, oh, we can also do subscription box, etc., which is no, but we can instigate it.
That's right, that's right. But good point, and it is something that we've thought about. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh, I lost you, Rebecca. There you're back again. You've moved position and you've moved. We've got the different camera on. Are you okay? And I had one more question. Do you collect payment?
We don't collect payments currently, but it's something that we're currently considering. So I can't give any sort of concrete details around that, but it's definitely something we're keen on.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much. Now, does anyone have any other questions for Rebecca? I know I actually ended up with a lot of questions for her, but does anyone have any other questions that you might want to pop into the chat area or jump online and ask them? Okay, that's fine. It was a brilliant solution. Really excited to hear from you and hear all the different features and functionalities that it has. How can people, Rebecca, get in contact with you or with Quotient to find out more information? Excellent. So if people need to get in contact with you, you've got your website, Twitter, and the support email if they're interested. Oh, okay. And I do have a question. Does the system allow proposal documents to be prepared?
Proposal documents. I'd probably need to know a little bit more about what needs to be included on the proposal document, but we definitely have people creating their proposals in Quotient. Yep, that's what it's geared for.
So do you have any, like for the gentleman who asked that questions, do you have any more parameters around that? You're welcome to jump on the screen and ask Rebecca if you want.
Yeah, it's Rob. Yeah, what I wanted to find out there was whether or not you can include elements around the business and I guess sort of background of the offerings, and more of a proposal document than a true sort of quote. So the way I sort of see it is the quote is almost like a 1 or 2 or 3 pager that will just have items and their values and maybe some options to select, whereas the proposal is a more sort of encompassing document that provides, I guess, more information about the offering, around the business, around the individuals, and a larger sort of pack that would go out to the potential client.
Yeah, I think that definitely can be catered to in Quotient. I mean, how you structure your Quotient quotes is really up to you, but we have customers that will have sort of maybe several pages of just text information. You can also obviously attach images, you can embed videos, whatever it is that you want to include on your proposal documents. But yeah, you can definitely structure things that way. It's really flexible. So it's really up to you, like what price items go where, what text goes where, all that sort of stuff.
Are you requiring the actual proposal document to be edited at all, Rob, or is that this is published, this is the part of the proposal document, and then there's like 1 or 2 pages on the top that are potentially going to change while you've sent them out?
No, I don't know. Do you mean edited by the client? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like when we saw the catering,
yeah.
It was like there was an option for it to go from 300 people to maybe 250 people. So the client could receive it and then change that. Are there any things on the proposal? Can the proposal be a PDF? I guess that's essentially, is it static or is it something that's going to move? I recognize the first few pages may have things in them that may need to be live and may need to be edited, but the bulk of the proposal, is that needing to move?
Yeah. No, it would be pretty static. It's just about having a more comprehensive document to sort of guide the clients through to taking on the service offering. So rather than just a couple of pages that has items and corresponding prices plus options associated with it, this is a proposal. When I do a proposal, it's around what is the background of my business, why am I the right person for the job, what's my experience, and then right at the end, what are the service offerings, and ultimately what the investment is. So it's a more, I think, drawn out, but it's still relatively static, other than perhaps the subscription services that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that can be catered to in Quotient, definitely.
Right.
And if you wanted more guidance around how to structure your quotes to accommodate that sort of stuff, please feel free to just send me through an email on support@quotientapp.com and I'll help you out.
Yeah. Just while I'm asking questions, the other thing I wanted to check, Heather's asked this already, around payment collections, and that's you know, that's something I was going to ask. And you say there's no sort of pipeline as to when that might be in the mix. Is it just is there any idea? Has it been in the mix for a while, and therefore it might still be in the mix for a while, or is there an opportunity? Because I think that really just takes the product to a new level when you can facilitate collections with it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, it is one of those tricky things that I can't really put a kind of time frame on, but it is something we're actively working on. So it might not be next month, but it's certainly in our near future.
So then, in that case, how would you compare it to the likes of what is it, Practice Ignition? Would you say it's a very different offering, or that it provides, one of the elements that Practice Ignition provides on the sort of proposal and quoting side, and maybe not some of the others?
I think with regards to comparing us to other solutions like Practice Ignition, we really do focus on primarily the quoting aspect of things. And we try to keep that as sort of perfect and pain-free as possible, and as simple as possible. So you might not have the whole host of other wonderful features that other solutions have, but when you're doing quoting, everything's as good as it can be.
Right. So particularly things like engagement letters, for example, once the client, comes on board, and those sort of elements, that is that a direction that potentially you might take in the future, or is it really that the core focus is around getting the client to come on board, and then the onboarding process is handled by something else?
Yeah, it's not something that I think we have in the immediate future, engagement letters, but we want to hear about the sort of directions that our customers would want to take when they're using Quotient, how they can, what sort of workflows they're being applied to. So certainly if there's a good case for engagement letters being developed, it would be considered. And if it's a good fit, then yeah, that could be something we could move towards.
All right, thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much, Rob, for your questions. I think possibly to pull back, I think Practice Ignition PI was built accounting practice first, and I think Quotient was built customer first, in terms of someone as an accountant would suggest it to their customers to use, like a landscaper or a travel agent. I agree, there is some crossover in the two solutions. That's kind of always the way that I've thought about it in my head, and of course building in both different ways means their strengths have built in both different ways, because I think PI integrates with Workflow Max for a start, and I don't think Quotient does.
Not at this point, no.
So yeah, so it's just sort of different.
Yeah, unless Zapier has a connection or connects with Workflow Max, I'm not too sure. It might be possible, but not a native integration.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions from anyone who has joined us today? If not, I'd just like to say thank you very much, Rebecca, for the presentation on Quotient. Really enjoyed it. It was really interesting hearing about it. And people know how to get in contact with you. You put the slide up previously, but thank you very much, Rebecca.
Well, thank you so much, Heather.